Wes Anderson color palette is a visual feast characterized by vibrant yet pastel-looking colors and often bathed in a warm tint. This unique blend creates a sense of nostalgia in Asteroid City akin to a dreamy postcard from a bygone era. Intrigued, we set out on a mission to recreate this same color palette, and we've broken down the steps dissecting the luminance and color elements so you can replicate this same iconic look on your own footage. I want to show you what this looks like in 5 steps in your editor, whether you're using Premiere Pro, DaVinci Resolve, or Final Cut Pro. And stick around till the end because I have a surprise that will streamline this entire process for you. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. Here we have a trailer from Asteroid City added to my timeline, so we'll use this as a reference. We want to choose a shot that's a good overall representation of the look of the film. I like this image as it has both talent in the shade and in the sun, and we get a wide view of the town, desert, and sky. Now, a key thing in matching this look is having footage that is similar to the lighting, location, and art direction of Asteroid City. So this footage will work really well for that. If you have anything else, it doesn't matter what we do in post, the look is just not going to match. For my footage, I'll choose an image that is a good representation of all the same elements showing a character, desert, and sky. Now, before we dive in, it's important to remind you that you need to have done a base correction for your footage first. That way, we have a good starting point for replicating the look. Step 1, compressed dynamic range. Looking at the reference in the Luma waveform, you'll see that the shadows are elevated between 10 and 20 IRE. This is a key to the look because if we scrub through the trailer, the image never gets close to 0 or deep black. And the highlights? They sit just below 80 IRE throughout the entire trailer. So that tells us that this look has compressed dynamic range. So how do we replicate this? In the Luma curve, we'll bring the top highlights point down and the shadows point up. I didn't do this using the color wheels or other slider controls because they don't compress the tonal range in the same way that the curves do. All right, nice. Compressed dynamic range is a key characteristic in the look of film, but in this particular case, the colorist exaggerated this even more to create a unique look. Step 2, contrast. In the Asteroid City reference, the luminance values are spread evenly across the tonal range from the shadows to the highlights, whereas in our clip, the trace is compressed in the shadows and highlights with a noticeable gap in the midtones. This results in a high contrast image, something you'd expect on a sunny day with harsh shadows. However, even under similar lighting conditions, Asteroid City appears less contrasty. This is because the colorist intentionally raised the deepest shadows and undertones, yielding a more even look across characters' faces and contributing to the overall pastel aesthetic. Furthermore, the highlights and overtones are brought down closer to the midtones, further softening the image and enhancing the pastel feel. This technique also enriches the density of the sky and bright sand. To achieve this effect, we'll create a point for the overtones and drag down, and a point for the undertones and drag up until the trace expands nicely through the mid-range, essentially creating an inverse S-curve. So now that we have shaped our tone curve, we're on to step number 3, saturation. This one is pretty straightforward. Comparing the traces from the 2 clips in the vector scope, we can see that we need to add more saturation to ours to match with how far out from the center the trace extends in Asteroid City. This gives us the vibrant yet pastel color intensity when combined with the low contrast. All right, now let's get into the nitty-gritty of this look. Here is the first part to replicating the color palette. Step number 4, warm-cool separation. It's important to pay close attention as we're going to manipulate the colors to start creating the distinct color palette of Asteroid City. In the reference, the sky and the shadows have a teal tint to them, while everything in between, like the skin, sand, and mountains, remains pretty warm. Our image doesn't have this, so our goal here is to introduce cool tones in the highlights and shadows while slightly warming up the midtones. We'll use the RGB curves to achieve this. We'll set 3 points in each curve and start tweaking. For the red curve, we'll pull down on the overtones and undertones to introduce teal, and slightly raise the midtones to add some warmth. Then in the green and blue curves, we'll do the opposite. We'll raise the overtones and undertones to introduce more cool colors in the shadows and highlights. We'll then balance the midtones to maintain warmth in the midtones. We're now starting to see the distinct separation between the sky, the desert, and our talent, and now we're ready to boldly enhance the color separation even further to complete the Wes Anderson color palette. Step number 5, teal and orange. Now let's shift our attention to other clips in the trailer while observing the vector scope. You'll notice that the trace consistently follows a line from orange to teal with very few other colors present. To replicate this, we need to isolate the cool colors in our image and push them towards teal, then shift everything else towards orange. In Premiere, we can achieve this using the HSL secondary panel. We'll use the key tools to select the warm colors, then invert the selection. In Resolve, we'll use the HSL qualifier with the same inversion technique. And in Final Cut, we'll add a new instance of the color wheels effect, create a color mask, and invert it. Next, we'll use the color wheels to push the selected range towards teal. If you want, you can further tweak the luminance and saturation of the teal to more closely match the density of the teal in Asteroid City. Lastly, we'll use the same tools to isolate the warm colors and use the color wheels to introduce some orange into that range. We've transformed this bland-looking image into the cinematic world of Wes Anderson that is both whimsical and nostalgic. This is how this look unfolds across our entire scene. You can apply these 5 steps to your footage to achieve the Asteroid City look, making it look like it's straight out of a Wes Anderson movie. However, I understand that all these steps can seem quite complicated and time-consuming. Well, what if there was a tool to simplify the whole process? A tool that not only makes the process easier, but also allows you to experiment and find your unique style. That's why I'm excited to introduce you to CinemaGrade. CinemaGrade is a modern color grading plugin that offers point-and-click grading, allowing you to grade your footage right directly in the viewer. It features easy shot matching and batch copying corrections, a false color feature for achieving cinematic exposure, 90 built-in colorist looks, and real-time previews of presets and LUTs. This is a game changer that makes it super easy to craft a look that makes you stand out. To celebrate the premiere of Asteroid City, we're offering a special gift with every new purchase of CinemaGrade. For a limited time, you can get a LUT that replicates the iconic Wes Anderson color palette. This exclusive LUT is embedded inside of CinemaGrade, providing you with a quick and easy way to achieve the look of Asteroid City without having to go through all these complicated steps. It's a turnkey solution that comes in 5 different variations, each offering a unique take on the Asteroid City look. This gives you flexibility to pick the best one that matches with your footage. To redeem this, after purchasing, just send an email with subject Asteroid City and we'll update your license unlocking it. And for making it this far, we also want to throw in a discount on CinemaGrade where you can get 20% off for a limited time. Just use the coupon code ASTEROID20 at checkout. So if you're ready to enhance your color grading and upgrade the look of your next project, grab CinemaGrade, get your free Asteroid City LUT, and finally start getting the cinematic look that sets your films apart.